Well, Kyle,
Yes, Garrett.
do you want to see a dead body?
Do I?
Do you want to be afraid of a dragon on a mountain?
Do I?
But no. Do you want to be afraid of a different dragon in the water? Before you even see that dragon, do you want to see a statue of the dragon and then go into the eye of the dragon to find the eye that was missing from the socket that you went into, but you had to cast Mini before you did that? Before you answer that, do you want to think about how the Vikings look like pirates? Before you answer that, do you want to know about Desh? He has amnesia. Before you answer that, that's what it feels like to play Final Fantasy 3.
Do I?
Dude, what the fuck is going on with this game?
Madness. It's wonderful.
This game is insane.
It is. It is going a mile a minute.
It's like playing D&D, but your DM is 6 years old.
It's like playing D&D and he keeps coming up with a whole different plot every weekend.
And then. It's like a 6-year-old was exposed to telenovelas.
You know what'd be really cool? Airship. Level 1 airship. Can't go over mountains.
You know what else would be cool? If we refer to the desert, but it looks like a sand pit. It's like the world's smallest,
tiniest little desert.
the smallest thing ever. I think the actual smallest.
How can you miss it?
How could you miss it?
How could you miss the desert?
Forgetting the fact that Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2, every time you see the airship is actually visually represented on the map.
It was buried.
Yeah.
It was in the sand, you know?
Yeah.
He's a dwarf or something. Sid's a dwarf.
He didn't say it was buried, though. He just said it was left in the desert. Cut to the actual game where it probably said it was buried, and I forgot that it said it was buried.
But he destroyed the airship by slamming into the rock, but he had to lower the ship.
We did that.
Well, he was on the ship at the time.
Orphans did that.
Yeah.
He let us do it.
Watched us do it.
That's a bro, actually. In car culture, a buddy who lets you beat on their car harder than they would normally drive it, that is a bro.
But he had to lower the ship. We had to lower the ship down to hit the rock. So why couldn't we go over it? You know what? We'll get a better airship eventually.
This game makes no sense.
And it's beautiful. It's absolutely insane.
I am raising many eyebrows in the opening of Final Fantasy 3. Hey, you. Yes, you. Or them.
Me?
Him? No,
Me?
not you.
Oh.
No, not you. The people watching.
Oh.
Are you enjoying this adventure into the past? We were having a good time, so we kept playing Final Fantasy games. If you like it and you want to vote with your dollar, you can head on over to our Patreon. It's at supportourbromance.com.
Supportourbromance.com.
It just takes you to our Patreon. It's patreon.com/Garrett and Kyle. It's just a simple link. It'll send you right there. If you like what Kyle is doing, if you can stomach what I'm doing, check it out. supportourbromance.com. Thanks for the support. So hello, to catch you up, everybody. I'm Garrett. This is Kyle. We are playing through every Final Fantasy game in order because we have played almost none of them, except for Final Fantasy 14, and you've beaten 10. I've beaten Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. That's it.
We have some connection.
I don't really remember the story of Kingdom Hearts. I just know it made me like Mickey.
Nice.
Anyway, we completed Final Fantasy 2. I would consider a popularly maligned entry in Final Fantasy. Other than Final Fantasy 13, I've probably heard more smack talk about Final Fantasy 2 than any other entry in the pantheon of Final Fantasy games. Again, with the exception of the aforementioned Final Fantasy 13. I've probably heard nothing about Final Fantasy 3, and I would imagine, at least with the opening 4 hours, it's because no one has any clue how to tell you about this game, because I'm not even sure the game knows what it wants to be.
Yeah, what are you going to say to someone? There's clearly an overplot. We got our Warriors of Light. We have orphans enchanted by a crystal they find underground.
They look like the guy on the Quaker Oats box.
They're onion knights.
Oh, you know what they even more look like? They look like Captain Crunch, because they're more cartoony.
They're childish, but they're children, right?
Well, they're orphans.
They're orphans. You don't have to be a child to be an orphan.
And when we went back to town, the old lady said, "Aren't you just a little too old for make-believe?" So I think they're teens.
We're of questing age.
I think they're teens with attitude.
Onion Knights. They're Onion Knights, apparently.
I only know about that term from Game of Thrones, but that was like a single title for a single person because of something that he did in war. They're all Onion Knights? Is that a thing in history?
An onion set of armor is a thing. It's the one where you have kind of the big, like, bulbous helmet.
Yeah, I know the armor you're talking about. I don't find it aesthetically appealing.
No, but it would work, and it would deflect arrows very well.
Yeah. A lot of things that are functional
Practical.
are not usually the most aesthetically pleasing. But
the setup for this adventure is the great earthquake was only the beginning. The tremors tore the land asunder. The crystal sources of the world's light were swallowed into the depths as monsters emerge from the chasms now scarring the earth.
there's a bald, blind religious sect called the Golgans, not the Gungans, which is what I want to say every time I see the word.
The Golgamex.
But they worship the crystals, and the crystals have been sucked underground, and they see that as a bad omen. That's kind of like the closest thing I can find to the plot of this game. Because Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2, despite Final Fantasy 2 getting credited with like, it's the first really like character-driven Final Fantasy, which is true. And my God, compared to 3, yes, absolutely. But what 1 and 2 have in common is they set up their threat very early on, and it's very clear. It's pretty vague and bordering on random bullshit go in the beginning here of Final Fantasy 3.
It's a prophecy. It's a motivator. You are chosen, and the world is full of threats. And you just encounter these low-level threats back to back to back. All of them are somehow related to this crystal business. We don't know how they're related, but we have several fingers pointing underground. And we have a really cool beginner zone. I don't know if that's how mechanically it's going to work, but the whole idea of a flying island that houses was peaceful people, your ancients that have the prophecies that know something about how this land was formed, means that we have an opportunity to say, this is why everyone was safe and happy. The rest of the world is in shambles.
Yeah, where did it come from? What is below? I feel like they're setting up what's below, and if that doesn't happen, I think I'm going to be horribly disappointed.
I don't know if it's going to be like the island actually lowers and plugs in. That would make Desh's sacrifice kind of lame if we're like, let's turn it off ourselves. I mean, I guess it didn't explode.
Well, that's where we left off. You know, this is hi. They did a terrible job introducing this video.
The video has a title. You read it, right? It had a thumbnail. First impressions. You know, we just started. Did that work for you?
What if someone out there is like watching a Final Fantasy video and this just auto-played next?
They just woke up and they're like,
who are these two assholes?
Supportourbromance.com.
But they need to like the video first. I don't mean like literally hit the like button. I mean like
you could do that.
You need to give them time. You can't just. I love advertising to someone who is watching this potentially against their will.
Well, that's mail advertising.
Mail advertising?
Yeah, like you get a letter in the mail. You're like, what the hell is this? And then you buy outdoor lighting. You're like, I remember AmbientLighting.com. They must be official because the mail.
I am the complete opposite. If you advertise me, if you advertise to me with snail mail, I am significantly less likely to buy from you.
Big money for them big stamps.
Anyway,
yet nothing compared to the Yet nothing compared to the catastrophe. Yet nothing compared to the catastrophe to come. Something fathomless, ominous, and laden with sorrow loomed on the horizon. But hope is not yet gone completely. 4 souls will be blessed with the power of light, and so it shall begin.
1 and 2 had a better intro.
Had a more sane intro.
It hooked me. This has not hooked me. This feels intensely like a first entry. Like it's so run of the mill that it's odd that this is 3 to me. Which like I wonder. I have done zero research on the background of this game. I wonder if after 2 they were like streamline, mainstream audience. Let's go.
I do like how the many different events of the game are teaching you the mechanics and how to play. I think that's a very strong choice.
Yeah, I like the job system. Mechanically, I'm enjoying this quite a bit.
Like
the job system is more how I like it.
And you get to choose, and it has some levels, but really it comes down to like the dragon moment. You meet the dragon and you have to run away. That seems backwards to how we know games today, but it does teach you that's an option. And in particular, the mini adventure. The mini adventure is really a big, aggressive handhold to be like, yo, get your spells in order. You're going to have to multi-job. There's going to be opportunities in this game where we force you to play certain jobs. Let's say Let's say down the road we go into a cave and it's nothing but slimes and physical doesn't work. In a previous game, we just go, well, I guess this is now a little slower because only 2 party members are doing damage. We need to acknowledge that cave is going to be like that for a while and immediately change tracks, make everybody a spellcaster.
Yeah, it took. I feel like it took me a little longer to get it than it like normally would have, which does make the game feel old school. But I like that about it. That's the kind of crunchy stuff I enjoy about older games. But even now, I had to remind myself, I'm like, the mini thing doesn't seem like it really taught me much because you only need one person with mini. But that's not what you're getting at. What you're getting at is that you need everyone to be doing magic damage because your physical attack sucks when you have mini cast on you, but the spells do perfectly wonderful damage.
Exactly.
So we swapped our entire party over to black mage except for our red mage because our red mage had a bunch of healing, and a bunch of people in chat got mad about that. If you want to heal, you should just switch to white mage. I say to them, we're 3 hours into the game. Let us play how we want.
Well, he also was auto-attacking with a bow for pretty decent damage, except for when he was mini, but then he was healing. You know, I think red mage is just badass what it comes down to.
I just like having them. We could progress without switching the red mage, so we did. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's not optimal.
But I do think we should be leveling up a white mage.
Probably.
Because in 1, there was high-level white mage spells that a red mage would never get a spell slot for. So eventually, yes. And that's cool because that was a disappointment in 1. I had a red mage. Big spells started coming out. I think it was holy. Red mage couldn't use them. Never got a slot for
Well, if it was 2, holy would just kind of always suck.
Well, yeah, that's just...
all endgame spells in 2 were so disappointing.
I love the spell slots. It's so D&D crunchy. And really the thing I love so much, the bosses last a little bit. They have a little bit of threat to them. They feel well balanced. I know we could ruin it with our own grinding.
Right about the moment that I start feeling, are we in trouble? Usually 1 or 2 more turns and the boss is dead. And that feels really nice. Now, yeah, everything just lines up with how we happen to be playing, which is we have done 0 grinding. And if you're wondering where we are, Desh is dead now. Desh has died.
Desh died. He jumped in the fire.
He's got Vegeta hair. He announces he has amnesia.
Way to be self-aware, man.
And yet you have amnesia, which you shouldn't be. Anyway.
Well, that doesn't mean you forgot the part that you forgot. You remember you forget.
Couldn't you realistically forget the word amnesia and what it means?
I've always wondered that about amnesia and forgetting your name. That seems kind of selective when you remember all this other thing.
Well,
like
that's why it's a really tired and generally shitty trope.
It's better when magically you've been enchanted to have memories removed.
That works. Or go Little Mermaid route. You just straight up can't talk.
Little Mermaid, yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Sea Witch.
Let's get this out of the way too. This is a huge amount of Final Fantasy XIV. The overworld music is constantly playing the Graha theme. You got the whole Warrior of Dark. They call it Warrior of Dark and Warrior of Light, but you know, it's in there. Like this is feeling like somebody's. Granted, I could go for a Ghost Village in 14. I love that shit.
I'm not being grumpy about it, but it's like barely. It's like names. Names are referenced in Final Fantasy XIV, and so far that is kind of it. Obviously, there's the music. I didn't remember. I didn't pick up on it. I don't remember Graha's theme.
That's amazing. And that's actually different from the fully orchestrated version that appears in the Final Fantasy III.
I couldn't hum it if you paid me $1 million.
Oh yeah, it's just kind of
I don't
the
remember
Graha theme.
Yeah, I have my favorite 14 tracks, and then there's just so much music. I can't keep it all straight in my head when it comes to 14. But it's mostly names, which honestly is how I like. There's other times in and this is not a Final Fantasy 14 video, but if you're curious, there are other times in Final Fantasy XIV where they make very heavy-handed direct references to other Final Fantasy games, like the Ivalice raid, which I think is actually one of the weakest pieces of content in Final Fantasy XIV, because they just went at it so hard that I felt like it got in the way of making that story fit more seamlessly into the world that they had built for Final Fantasy XIV. Ivalice comes up later, and I think they do a way better job with it, but the raid itself, I can take or leave it. So this is fine. I'm down with this type of references, but it's also like, I'm not like Leo pointing as much, you know? With the exception of the name, again, it's just a name, but it's a pretty big name in Final Fantasy XIV. They name drop Xande.
Yeah, Emperor Xande.
Good old Xandy.
Yeah, he's going to be doing something, which means we got some crystal business. That's obvious. Oh my God. Final Fantasy has crystal business ahead of us.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's kind of their thing.
It's
kind of their magic system.
That is probably the number one thing that makes me just think of Final Fantasy 14 is the fact that we're talking to a verbal crystal telling us we're the chosen one and telling us to go be heroes. That is intensely Final Fantasy 14. The names and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah, cool. They pulled some names. That's totally fine. They do the same thing with Star Wars.
Name drop.
Yeah.
That's
or
cool.
In this case, Star Trek. There's an Enterprise has been name dropped.
We saw Bahamut. Like, why reinvent the wheel?
I was worried Bahamut was going to go down like a chump, like the behemoth in Final Fantasy 2. But
I'm glad they saved it for another moment.
yes, I'm glad. That's probably my favorite thing about Final Fantasy 3 so far, at least in these opening moments, is that if you try to fight Bahamut, he will absolutely annihilate you. And though I think in practice it's a bit goofy, in practicality, I love that Bahamut kicks your ass so far off of the cliff that it kind of shoves you where you need to be because it puts you right by like the enchanted forest where you find the first gnome.
Well, it's like the desert. If you hadn't played previous ones, those little forest holes wouldn't make sense, but at least it's trying to inform itself with its own gameplay.
Yeah, the desert literally, I think, just threw me for two reasons. It was tiny and I couldn't see the airship. I was literally, like in my head, I was literally just looking for an airship because in 1 and 2, you could always see it there.
Well, and the desert was a far away, huge desert. You know, south isn't always south. It's sometimes southwest. The game was made without maps, so that just following the land would mean you.
What are you talking about? You just eat some bread.
You eat the gnome bread.
You eat some bread, you get a map.
Gnome bread.
And if you're like me, you sell that bread because you thought it was just a holdover because you're playing the Pixel Remaster where you can just summon up a map whenever you want. And you didn't actually realize that the fact that the bread actually also shows you things that you haven't discovered yet on the map and you completely screwed yourself.
There's a decent amount of secrets, but they're pretty well visually represented with little cracks and crags and archways. And I just feel like this game has an excellent visual language for teaching you the game. Exception, and I'm really happy they didn't just reuse assets. However, some of this pixel art is freaking weird, man.
I can't be nice about it. I think it's hideous.
The zombies are like exploding out of viscera corpses. The everything shot at like a weird 3/4 angle, action running. I don't know why. The Medusa was clearly normal size wearing a dress, and then she's a giant floating
She's basically a beholder when you fight her, but when you see her in the dungeon map, yeah, she's a normal Medusa.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Very bizarre decisions. Like, yeah, I find the art pretty off-putting in this game. Bahamut looked cool.
Yeah,
Bahamut looked really cool. But yeah, I really like the sprites from 1 and 2. A lot of things were reused from 1 to 2, and I haven't looked up the 8-bit version, but we did look up a lot of the 8-bit versions of the sprites from Final Fantasy 2, and the pixel remasters are extremely faithful. So I'm assuming Final Fantasy 3 is the same. We'll find out later.
There's even less information about this game when it comes to finding old guides of people writing about it. Like, we don't even have a translated manual.
Nope, and we didn't have one for 2 either.
There were fan translates though, so
were there?
There's just not that much conversation about this one.
Yeah, it's odd. My gut reaction off of the opening sequences is that overall I like 2 more. That's my gut reaction. But I don't know. I'm thinking, is it because I had so much time? I had a really long break from playing 1 to playing 2. Did I just miss it and I wanted more Final Fantasy 2? And now I'm coming hot off the back of Final Fantasy 2 heading into 3. And I'm like, it's fine. It's more of the same. Sprites I think are worse. The job system I think is better.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this would hit if I were to wait a little bit longer to play it.
I love the job system. I love the spell slots. My only concern is that we're gonna have 2, but with jobs instead of spells. That we're gonna get to a late time in the game, and it's gonna be like, hey, you just unlocked Cavalier. Oh, Cavalier is way more powerful than Warrior. Now we have to grind up Cavalier instead.
By Cavalier?
I'm just making up a job.
Dragon Knight in
I'm
Final
just making
Fantasy
up a job that probably doesn't exist, so I can't be wrong about it. Because if I said like Paladin, then well, actually, I'm using a word that's like generic enough. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Onion Knight is going to be like the most powerful thing in the game because it's the starting job and probably has the best neutral stats for doing anything under the sun. Like the whole...
That's nice. I'm not using it. That sprite is hideous.
You have a character level and then your job level augments that. And that means you're never so far behind you can't cast a spell. But obviously when we switch to all black mage, the multiplier that exists does matter a lot. So I'm hoping the resistance of the game stays true. I hope that we really get these more crunchy, long boss fights throughout it. I'm curious how that balance is going to work.
We're in control of a lot of that at the end of the day. I think we just keep trying to go from point A to point B without any additional grinding if we can help it. Might need to if we run out of gil. We might need to if we get absolutely bodied by a boss. But I get excited when I get bodied by a boss. That's what I enjoy in these games. It sets a certain bar. We want just in the first hour of this, we wandered into a random cave and we got absolutely destroyed by a mummy. That was cool. I like that.
That's
which
adventurous.
is why level scaling is a plague upon humanity and should be abolished from every video game that has been ever made. Hate level scaling.
Me too.
Sorry, I'm just mad about level scaling now. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about Final Fantasy III, Kyle?
I look forward to more. Thanks for watching.
Having a good time? I'm very confused. Is it always going to be? Is it this fast paced the entire time? Is it essentially now for something completely different in RPG form? Is Monty Python my DM now? Help.